Hi there. I'd like to walk you through some of what I've been seeing in the Writing Assignment 3 Part 1 proposal. You submitted this on Wednesday, November 1st, and I'm intending for you to submit Part 2, which is this response to one another for 10 more points on Sunday. Please read this carefully. This is different than the responses I've asked you to do in the past. I'm really wanting you to maybe go look for some additional sources or think about what you know about this issue and share it with a classmate. So one of the first things that I noticed, and we're going to look at Alyssa's for an example of this. One of the first things that I noticed, and Alyssa did a great job of helping me understand which part of the proposal she was responding to. 1, 2, or 3. And in part 2, I asked for research questions, and I talked about what a strong research question was and what a weaker one was. And number 2 here is a better research question, and I'll tell you why. What is the leading cause of suicide or reason to attempt reported for these two age groups is what we call a lookup question. So I can just look up the answer to that, and probably within like a few percentage points, I'm going to find sources that agree about that. I can't write a whole paper about that. That isn't an inquiry research question yet. Are there differences, though, in the perception of suicide between either group? That is something that I could look up and find an answer to. The other thing, so the first thing that I want you to think about is to go back to your research question and ask, can I write a whole paper about the answer to this research question? Writing assignment 3 is the answer to your research question. And also, is it specific enough? Is it broad enough? Does it cover exactly what I want it to? And are the sources that I'm finding matching the research question? Those are all really important questions to be asking. And the other thing is finding sources. And Alyssa is not the only one who did this, so I am definitely not picking on Alyssa. There are a couple of sources listed here, apa.org, American Psychological Association, which isn't a terrible source to use, and AFSP, which also has, it's an organization that also has something to do with suicide. So, this is a student who used just Google to find some websites, and that's the first step. But actually, what you're going to need to do for this inquiry paper for writing assignment 3 is find some more credible sources. In order to do that, you're going to need some keywords. And so keywords are just a shortened version of the topic or the question so that you can search for it. For example, if I go to Google and I look up suicide, I'm going to get, a national hotline, and then I'm going to get, the Wikipedia page and a bunch of websites. Here's the AFSP source that Alyssa used. So, it didn't take much searching. But these are sort of general sites. They're not giving me some information about perception, which was actually Alyssa's question, right? What about perception of suicide? So if I could go up here and click on this news tab next to it, you'll see that I get a different kind of arrangement here, and I've asked several of you to do that. So please make sure you go back, put in your keyword, and then click the news tab. So I'm not just talking about any kind of suicide. I'm actually wondering if there's an epidemic, because epidemic means like a mass amount of suicides or a rise in suicides. Particularly in a certain age group. But I'm going to start here, and if I don't find anything, I'll add the age group piece to it. Okay, so this is about something that is local to Jacksonville. What you're getting in green here is the periodical. Periodical means newspaper, magazine, or journal that it was published in. So this is an article. This is the title of the article. This is where it was published, and this is the date it was published. So we have the most recent stuff up front. In fact, this one's even more recent. It was 2 hours ago. And so if I scroll down here, I'm noticing, so bullying might be something that I could search for, right? I'm looking for ideas for keywords that are related to the idea of suicide, suicide epidemics, age groups by suicide, okay? And then this one caught my eye. Top mental health researcher suggests a link between opioid, and I remember hearing in the news there's an opioid epidemic, among a particular group of folks right now, older folks. And Alyssa identified this in her proposal. And so this is a source I might just click on and go to. I'm going to open it in a new tab so we can kind of see. Huffington Post is a newspaper. I could easily find out about this newspaper by going to About Us. Ooh, they don't make that easy. I'd have to look around for a little bit and find out a little bit more about Huffington Post, HuffPo. And then I know that this is written by Jason Chirkis, and if I clicked on his name, I'm sure I would get more information about him. So this is much more reliable than an open website. Like, this is a news organization where journalists are posting researched information. Okay, so I'm hoping that's making more sense to you. Okay, so some other things that I was noticing. This is back to the discussion. And I want to look at Michaela's now. Michaela is going to write about pit bulls. How did this fun-loving, smart dog become one of the most hated breeds? So this is a pretty good research question. Notice that it's not a lookup question. I can't say why are pit bulls hated and get an answer that is like a statistic or a historical fact or a date in time. I would have to actually find out why some people think they're hated and why they're maybe not hated by other people. It's complicated, right? This one. So this is a good research question to start from. And I was really impressed that Michaela was also using sources throughout her proposal, which not very many of you did. So she has the same kind of situation we get down here. So she has the dog whisperer, Cesar Millan stuff in here. And, you know, he's in the business of making a TV show about dogs, is not an academic source. Academic source means, again, a journalist has researched this thing and put the best information out there. Or a professional psychologist has researched, you know, pet psychology and has published the most, you know, current, informed, data-driven information. It's not what we're talking about here necessarily, okay? Not a terrible source, but not the strongest source. And then ASPCA, same thing. They're an organization, a nonprofit organization that is in the business of caring for animals. So it's better if Michaela, like Alyssa, get a few external sources. So I would do the same thing. Maybe I might go to Google and I might think of some synonyms. So if I'm thinking about dangerous breeds or hated breeds, yeah, I might use the word dangerous. I might use pit bull. She mentions pit bull in this piece. I might use nanny dog or family dog. I might use shelter in combination with hated breed. So I'll show you how some of that will work here. Right now, what I'm going to do is go over to the Butte College Library website. And after you finish this video, I highly encourage you to do this if you haven't yet. So you could go to the main Butte College page and type in library in the search bar. That's one way to get there. It also comes up if you put in Butte College Library. So just on the front page, I'm going to do pit bulls and breed. So that they know I'm not talking about any other kind of pit bull, right? Pit bulls and the breed of dog. So I have 1 through 10 of about 15 sources here. So that's a manageable amount to work with for sure. And I noticed the first ones are kind of light reading. They're kind of popular reading. Pinup for polls is probably not going to help me with a paper that is about a dangerous breed and how they came to be hated. So you got to keep your research question in mind. I'm not seeing a lot that's going to help me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the format over here. Take a look at the side. All formats gave me 15, but if I just want books, it's going to give me only 9. And if I just want articles, it'll give me about 4. I'm going to choose articles. And then the interesting first one is the SPCA takes on Montreal's breed-specific legislation. I'm guessing Montreal is Montreal, Canada. And so this is going to get me in a little bit of trouble if I'm trying to focus on a local issue. But it might give me some good background. So I may click on this article and find out what the heck is breed-specific legislation. In fact, because we're talking about keywords right now, that gave me an idea that I might be able to do breed-specific legislation and see what there is. Okay. So now notice under format over here, I have 1,984 articles. Some of these are not all from the US, but notice that the publications are much more professional. I can get it from veterinary journals. It's called the Veterinary Journal. Okay, so this will sort of help you narrow it. You can also narrow sometimes by keyword, although I see that they don't have those here. They just have author. Yeah, this one isn't going to help you. All right, so the takeaway here should be look back at your research question and see if you can come up with some more keywords to search both Google News and the Butte College Library database, library homepage. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about is Natalie's post. So Natalie is also, oops, that is not what I want. I want not Natalie's reply, but Natalie's original. There we go. So Natalie's focusing on the environment. Those are her issues. So her question is, why do people litter in the first place, and what's so hard about holding onto your trash? So this also is something that would work as a research question for sure. It's a little bit loaded though, like it assumes bad intention. And so think about that with your question too. Like, are you already assuming that there's bad intention here? Or actually, can you be curious about what actually might be going on for people? Interestingly, Natalie actually answered that question. If you go back and read hers, you'll see that she answered the question about litter in her proposal. And so my suggestion was, like, what's next? What is the solution? I wanted to show you, though, her works cited page. So Natalie has done the thing I asked, which very few of you did. So thank you, Natalie, where she has the author's last name. She's chosen the title of the article. She's put in italics the periodical that it came from and the date. And she does this with every source. These are not websites. She's not using aspca.org. She has found actual periodical news sites, news or academic sites that have an author that are writing something specific that's based on research. So she did a really great job there. I'll just end by just reminding you that by Sunday, I need you to respond for 10 points to another person. And hopefully this video has been a model for that. You know, pose some questions to help them focus, acknowledge that they're on the right track maybe, but there's some other perspectives they might be lacking. And then especially bringing in other sources. If you've read something about this, if you've seen it on your own social media feed, post it for this person so they have it. Next week, you're going to be working on an annotated bibliography, which is going to take you some time. I need 5 substantial, meaty sources that you have summarized and analyzed. And you can look ahead in week 12 to see that. Thanks very much.